What's up, guys? Chooch back with another video, and today we're out here ripping around in the Rocky Mountains, guys, and this is some of the most beautiful terrain you will ever see. It is just absolutely gorgeous. We're going to ride full loop all the way around the lake, guys, so we're about to get into some beautiful trails. We got to ride over, right now, we're in Dillon, Colorado, and then I got to ride over to the next town real quick on this little bikeway, and then we're going to be going over to Frisco. And then once we're in Frisco, we can kind of dip into the trails over here, and it's incredible trails, guys. There's usually not a lot of people up here. If you go up here on a weekday, you can dip in, and it's just fabulous. It's really incredible trails. I'm gonna have to get a studded tire soon because it's gonna be iced up here. I really need some recommendations on that. If any of you guys know like a good method to put studs in a tire, like honestly something that's gonna last a while, feel free to throw it down in the comments because I really have to come up with a good system for this because I'm going to be limited to where I can ride at come in a few months. But anyways, the wind coming across this lake was absolutely gnarly, so I had to take a seat right here. I mean, it was crazy. Even whenever I just turned the camera to the side or even stuck my arm out, just the wind gust got me pretty good. Especially, I mean, wind on these things is something you really usually underestimate. If it's a windy day, guys, that's usually something I will not ride in unless I'm going into like the mountains or I'm going to be in a valley or something like that, or I got like hills around me or anything. But if it's a windy day, I'm not going to go out and just ride like out in the open plains or through the city or anything like that. I'm talking like really windy. We have really windy days here in Colorado. I'm talking 80-mile-an-hour gusts some days, and I mean, you're just fighting the wind sometimes, guys. So if you can just throw down a tuck, use your seat if you need it. I don't have a seat on my wheel. I'm not really putting my weight on the top of the wheel right here, guys. I'm really just tucking, and just all my weight is really just on my abs right now. Whenever I'm just doing this, all my weight is on my core and then on my toes. I really have just barely, maybe I'd say 6 to 10 pounds of pressure actually sitting on the wheel. That's one thing you need to do whenever you're sitting down on these electric unicycles. If you do have a seat, if you have a high seat especially, you can kind of fall into this comfort zone where you're just putting all your weight on the top of the seat when you really need to have more than 50% of your weight still on the pedals even though you're sitting down, if that makes sense, because that's where all your control comes from. And what gives these things a huge advantage, especially for trail riding, the reason that you can trail ride this on a fully slick tire. So I have the fully slick stock tire on this thing. And the reason, and I do have to ride it differently than say my M Super Pro that has the off-road tire on it. But it all boils down to this, is you have an extremely low center of gravity on these things, guys. So you got to look at it, basically you got to look at a dirt bike or a motorcycle, the foot pegs. That's why you see riders standing up all the time on a motorcycle or whatever. What they're trying to do is they're putting all their weight on those foot pegs in order to get that center of gravity low, which means that especially for off-roading on a motorcycle, that means that you're not going to be sliding out in corners. You're way less inclined to tip over. One thing that is actually pretty cool to try that you can experiment with the whole center of gravity thing is you can get somebody to pick you up, and it's almost like a logical thing. Like if you literally just think about putting your body weight all on your feet and just stand there, and literally you don't have to move a muscle. Basically, you can literally just think about it, put all your body weight on your feet. The person coming to pick you up literally will have more of a hard time picking you up than if you just stand there completely just relaxed or whatever, just like you normally would be. It's almost like a mindset of putting your weight all the way down there low. And with that, you can ride trails at high speeds like this even with a slick tire. And it's because there is just there's so much weight in that little center of gravity, or there's so much weight in that little area. You have a little space, but there's just so much weight and so much pressure being put in that little space that it's not going to be sliding out, guys. And it's pretty incredible on these things. You wouldn't think that you could ride a slick tire like this on dirt, across rocks, through pine straw, everything like that, and not slip out at all. But it literally, that's why I have my knees bent like I do, and it's all mindset of putting that weight as low as I possibly can the whole entire time. And it really is. Once you put it in your mind, you can just ride these things like a bat out of hell off road. It's literally just that mindset. Um, I see a lot of people that have, and it's more than just bending your knees. Bending your knees is a ton to these things, and that's why you see me even riding these wheels without this wheel right here is particularly without the Clark pads this time. So for riding off-road where I have rocks and stuff like this and terrain where it's extremely bumpy. So this is just long-range kind of cross-country riding, extremely bumpy terrain I'm on. There's rocks, there's roots, and this camera does no justice, guys. This is some bumpy terrain. You can really see it if you look at the top of my knees, how much they're really working. And with these pads, I'm not locked in quite as much. These are the EUC Guy power pads. And these have an advantage that the Clark pads kind of don't have. And it's for more like this, where I'm going to be riding and just bending my knees. I'm not really trying to jump over every little thing. It's just more of like long range riding. And you see that right there, like for instance right there, where my knees flex down farther than what the Clark pads would allow me to. So it's getting these things right, guys. The pads is one thing that really differentiates between your terrain. You can have a good jump pad setup that just locks your knees in a little bit too much for off-roading to where you really can't bend them as much. That's why you see me with the Clark pads on there, really with that kind of awkward, like osprey type stance where my knees are Ving out a lot whenever I'm going down like a bumpy path or something like that. And with these, it just kind of works with it to where they can kind of slide up if need be. It's just it really is just personal preference and a whole different riding style that the pads offer. These I can still grip them. You see me gripping them right there and getting that speed out of them, but then I can loosen up on them, and then my knees can slide up and over almost to the end of them with no problem. You see that right there? Then the Clark pads don't allow you to do that. It really is personal preference, guys. So like it's not end all be all everything. So you see me ripping around with those Clark pads, loving it, and yeah, they're great, but it's a whole different riding style, and it takes a while to get used to and go back and forth between the two for sure. But I still like to switch it up. I really like the EUC Guy power pads, and I really like the Clark pads for sure. They just are both different. They should be both different patents. They're both different designs completely, So it's just, it's like a pair of running shoes and then a pair of hiking shoes. It's just a completely kind of different thing, and they're both great, and they both work and serve their purposes. And I really, I can't pick a favorite on these. You can make a simple pad, guys. You can make a homemade pad that probably will do you fine. The Clark pads, I love those things for sure. And then I also, these are incredible as well. So there's a ton to learn about the behavior of these things and the control of them, and that's why I think there's going to be so much room for advancement on these electric unicycles. And this hobby is one that I never see falling off, or I never see stopping in the near future or anything like that, guys. It's going to really progress, and it's going to progress quick here soon. And it's just it's technical, like this right here. It's just so much fun. I don't really know how to explain it, guys. It is just so much fun, so technical to ride through here. Oh, look at that. Dude, I almost lost my wheel right there. Almost lost it. I really did. Y'all saw that. It would have been gone. It would have been gone in that lake. And that lake is deep, guys. That lake is so deep right there. If I wouldn't have just gripped on and just tried to go back up that little ledge, dude, it would have been gone. So I am on my M Super X 100 volt 1300 watt hour, and I'm really riding this wheel a lot, guys. Just because it's an old wheel, it's a beater at this point, and I like just riding trails and whatnot on my old wheel and not tearing up my new equipment. If I can just rip trails like this on an old wheel that I'm not scared to bash up or anything like that. That's the cool thing about having multiple wheels. If you have an old wheel, you can just rip it and bash it and whatnot, and just and I can't seem to tear this thing up. Honestly, I've just been giving this thing all sort of hell, and I can't seem to tear it up, guys. Literally, with the Clark pads, the only thing that I really notice is it pulls on the side a lot where the bolts are. And the other day I just had like a bolt come loose in there, threw some Loctite in there, boom, good to go, guys. So literally, that is the most incredible thing about these. It's just how much riding time and how many miles you can put on it and how much fun you can get out of the daggum thing without having to do hardly any maintenance, guys. And I'm riding the shit out of this thing with no suspension. You gotta think with anything, you're riding this hard with no suspension, you expect something to tear up over time. And I've just ticking the miles on it. I think I have almost 4,000 miles on this wheel, and I have not been easy on it. I think the first day I got it, I took it out to a BMX park, and I split the shell on the front of it right there. But you see, I put it back together and then put a little padding on the front, guys. And that padding is pretty much everything you need. Any really hard impact that's going to do any damage to these electric or to the Gotway, specifically electric unicycles, or any, I'd say for all of them, if you can figure out some way to throw a pad on the front of it right there, what I did, you kind of see what I did right here is this is the foam from the box, the actual packing that the unicycle comes in. I just cut 2 strips out of it. I hot glued the strips down, put a little bit of duct tape over it, and then I had an old pair of like black jeans that were way too small. And I took the jeans and just instead of it just looking like crappy duct tape, and I just like triple layered the jeans over it and then just like hot glued it down and made like a little pad on the front right there. So if I do go, like if I crash right now, like if I hit a bump or something and I went skipping along, it wouldn't just hard impact right on the front where the headlight is, you know? And usually, I mean, I've crashed this thing a ton since I've done that, and it has held up so well. Like I think I've had that little like blue jean little bumper pad on the front of this thing for probably 2 years now, and it's probably taken 20 different hard impacts, and it works like a champ. So like the foam that's actually in the box, guys, you got to think that's like that stuff is super dense. You know, it's actually for transporting the things and whatnot. That foam works incredibly well to make a little headlight ring, if y'all can do that. So a little tip right there. Anyways, this is gonna be more of a just cruising style video with a lot of less edits, and we're just gonna cruise through the mountains and just take it easy and have a good old time, guys. I'll let it play out, roll some music with it. Hope y'all enjoy it.
You're an obsession in my head. I can't forget your eyes. Your kiss is red. My skin, it feels so empty inside.
Look at those palm trees dance!
Don't want to mislead. This is all you need. Be your everything, yeah, I'll be your everything. Still too soon to feel. Please just say it's real. More than just a thrill, not just in it for the thrill. I'm in it for the love, cause love it needs to touch it. You're pressing on my body, babe, let me tell you something. I'm in it for the love, cause love it needs to touch it. You're pressing on my body, babe, let me tell you something. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love.
The link below, guys, takes you straight to eWheels. It is an affiliate link. It helps the channel. You can pre-order the V11, the Veteran Sherman, the S18, and get all of the latest wheels there. M Super Pros, all that stuff. Link below, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one.